Alright, so I'm here with your Elimination Chamber review. Thought the show was pretty decent. Have a couple complaints, but overall I thought it was pretty decent. You had some shitty stuff, you had some great stuff, you had some good stuff, and then you had some bad news buried in there. So let's just start off. Actually, I want to say I did a pre-show review, so I thought that was a decent match. I do take that into consideration when rating the overall quality of the show. So, but yeah, I thought that was a decent match there between the Rhodes brothers and Ryback. So if you want to go check out that review, I have it up in my channel. So let's get started off here with the non-pre-show or whatever you want, the real pay-per-view, which you actually got to pay for. First match, you got Big E Langston defeating Jack Swagger. Coulter cuts a good promo, as he usually always does before the match. He blames the illegals for the polar vortex, which I thought was a pretty, innovative little promo spot there. But yeah, it was a good promo. The crowd was clearly behind Jack Swagger, or at least we the people. They were chanting, or at least behind the Real American, faction or whatever, the trio, because they were chanting "We the People" in the match. And when Coulter goes, "Well, you all rise and chant 'We the People' with me," they very loudly chanted "We the People," and even I believe JBL even acknowledged it on commentary that, wow, we have a lot of real Americans in the building, or a lot of fans of Swagger or whatever. So but yeah, I thought this was a good match. Swagger should have won here. The crowd was clearly wanting Swagger to win here. I have to admit here, Big E had a couple nice spots. The spear through the ropes was pretty cool. And the crowd started chanting "Holy shit" for that. I don't get why. It's like, that's not a holy shit moment. But, they did the same thing last week with the little side, whatever, suplex, whatever it's called, through the table with Sheamus and Orton. They started chanting "Holy shit." It's like, really? That's not a holy shit moment. But yeah, it was a good match. No complaints here. I'm still not a big fan of Big E, or he's not that great a wrestler, and he has no promo skills that I've seen yet. Swagger's decent wrestler. He's passable. He's a little bit better than Langston, probably, maybe the same. But yeah, good match here, no complaints. Then we get Bad News Barrett, rising out of the ceiling, or the ground rather. He talks about Russia. Now, why the fuck is he talking about Russia? He's like, oh, Russia won more Olympic medals than the U.S. All right. First off, he's from England, not Russia. England's so fucking far away from Russia too, isn't it? England's on like the left side of Europe, and Russia's all the way over. It's like the last country to the right on Europe, and most of Russia is actually in Asia. So it's like, it would be the equivalent of me saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be happy because Canada won the most medals in the Olympics, or Mexico won the most medals. I'm gonna celebrate." It's like, just because a country's on the same continent you're on does not mean you're victorious or you've done a good job in the Olympics. Your country didn't win. All right, so it doesn't make sense here. And he says, he talks about how what's he say here? He says the North American sporting supremacy, or says some shit about that. I don't know what the fuck. I wrote it down in my notes here. He says the European sporting supremacy will rule again in 2016, or some shit like that. It's like, just because your country just because you're from the same continent the country's on does not mean you win. It's so stupid. Then we get the announcement of Hulk Hogan coming back. Sort of excited to see this. He's not wrestling, so that's a good thing. So this is good. Hogan's coming back. Be excited. I'm pretty excited to see what they're gonna make out of this. Then we get the New Age Outlaws defeating the Usos. It was alright. I'm glad the Outlaws won here. But yeah, it's pretty much all I could say about it. It wasn't horrible, it wasn't great. It was pretty much in the middle. Alright match here. But hopefully the Usos don't really win the belt. I'm still hoping, they give the belts to I was hoping they would give them to the Real Americans, but I don't see that happening now. But yeah, I don't really want the Usos as champions because I can't take somebody who does a retarded dance and Samoan, whatever. I hate their gimmick. I cannot take them seriously. They're decent wrestlers, but it's like they come out there, they go crazy on their entrance and they do this retarded ass dance, and I don't like it. All right, I hate it. So yeah, I don't really want them to. I don't really want to see them as tag champs or whatever. It'd be sort of cool to see him turn heel and all the kids cry though. That I would sort of take him as tag champs maybe, but I don't see them turning heel. But yeah, that match was all right. Then we get Bad News Barrett again. Says Brian will lose, and that's pretty much all he says. Nothing good from this again. Just I mean, we don't really need to see him after every match. It's a little bit of overkill. One time's enough, all right. Then we get, but yeah, that sucked. That segment sucked there. Then we get Titus O'Neil defeating Darren Young. Below average match here. It wasn't horrible, but it definitely wasn't. It wasn't even average. It was. It pretty much sucked. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it was like between horrible and average. So yeah, but I'm glad Titus O'Neil won. He's definitely the guy who has more talent out of these two, and it didn't really feel like a pay-per-view match. It's like Titus O'Neil and Darren Young have never had singles matches on a pay-per-view before. I believe. I don't know about that for sure, but yeah, it just didn't really feel like a match you would expect to see on a pay-per-view. In this tag team, they haven't even been on TV in the past like month or two until the SmackDown where Titus turned on him. So it's like they haven't even been on TV and they just get a singles match on a pay-per-view. It's like it didn't feel like a pay-per-view match, and it wasn't a good pay-per-view match. But I'm glad Titus O'Neil won. He's pretty charismatic. He's a passable wrestler. He's not a horrible wrestler. He's an all right wrestler. So glad Titus O'Neil won there. And we get Bad News Barrett again. Oh, here third time. Then he says Hogan's spotlight will diminish because of his skills. It's like, yeah, no way. You're a fucking jobber, Wade fucking Barrett. And not a good insult here. It's like, oh, Hogan, the most popular wrestler of all time, your spotlight's going to diminish because I'm going to become, the most popular wrestler of all time. It's like Hulk Hogan's the most popular wrestler of all time. And here's Barrett saying he's going to take away Hogan's spotlight, and Barrett's just a jobber. We get the Wyatt, so that sucked. Again, another Bad News Barrett I did not enjoy. Then we get the Wyatts defeating the Shield. A great match here. I thought this was not a 5-star match, but 4, maybe I'll give it 4.25 stars. Thought it was a great match. Some cool spots. Some memorable spots. I remember a lot of spots during this match. The German suplex off the top rope where Rollins landed on his feet. The suicide dive from Luke Harper, I believe it was Luke Harper. It was either Harper or Rowan. I'm 99% sure it was Harper though. The table spot was really cool. But I do have one problem with this match. Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose were fighting in the crowd, and then Bray Wyatt just mysteriously reappears, and then Ambrose is nowhere to be found for like 10 minutes. It's like it didn't, I would like to know what happened to Ambrose, or but but that's just a little thing there. Overall, the match was great. I very much enjoyed it. It was a great match. So yeah, the table spot though was very, very cool. They built up Reigns, made him seem like the Wyatts needed all 3 members to beat him. Again, still not a big fan of Reigns. He's got a couple good moves with that drop kick where he lands on the ring apron. He's got a good spear, decent spear, but that's about it. He uses a fucking punch as his fucking finisher. All he does is jump in the air and punch the guy in the face. It's like that's not really a passable finisher or a signature move. It's the move that he does right before the spear, I believe. So it's not really a passable signature move there. And we get Cameron defeating AJ Lee. Horrible match here, botch filled. And it's like, what did Cameron do to deserve a fucking title match? Just out of nowhere, out of the fucking blue. It's like, just because Naomi only has one eye, doesn't mean that her sister or whatever gets friend, I don't fucking know, gets a fucking title match. And Naomi's more talented, obviously. She's the more talented one. than Cameron. So hopefully Naomi's back, because she actually does have talent. So she has a lot more talent than Cameron. Cameron's not nearly as good as Naomi. But then Tamina actually kicked AJ Lee. But why wasn't there a D-fucking-Q when Tamina kicked AJ Lee? The ref was looking right at her, and then she pulled, who was it? Cameron off the pin. She interfered twice, and they didn't even DQ her. It's like, what the fuck? Wake up, fucking ref. Just because it's an accident she kicked AJ doesn't mean you just keep the match going. It's like, fucking call the match. But they did eventually end up calling the match. There was tension between Tamina and AJ. So maybe this is going to lead to a Tamina-AJ match at Mania. And I hope the fucking God that Tamina does not become the next fucking champion. Then we get another Bad News Barrett. I actually like this one. He says we will all watch the WWE Network for too long, which will cause us to, lose our jobs and houses, and we will be living on the streets. I liked it because it was an in-depth little promo here. The last ones were just like little insults, like 20-second long insults. This one actually went in depth, and I liked it. This was probably the only Bad News Barrett. This was the only Bad News Barrett on the show. Bad News Barrett segment on the show that I liked. Then we get Batista defeating Del Rio. Del Rio comes out, acts like he's injured. Then he attacks Batista, and I felt this was, then the match eventually starts. I felt this was a very shitty match. It's like, holy shit. And for all those people booing Batista, it's like, you haven't even fucking seen him wrestle yet. You've barely fucking seen how much talent he has. So don't fucking boo him, alright? People just piss me off. People just jump to assumptions with people, It's like, wait till you see all the details before you make a legitimate opinion on something. So, but even Batista only got in a little bit of offense, so I can't really say that he sucks yet. He doesn't look like he's that great, a wrestler. If I had to bet on it, I would say he's a pretty shitty wrestler, but I'm not going to say that because I haven't seen him wrestle a legitimate. I don't consider that a legitimate match, because he was being beaten up by Del Rio most of the time. So I really want to see a legitimate match before I make a legitimate opinion on him. But this was very shitty and boring. Did not like it at all. Batista ends up winning predictably. By the way, 100% of my predictions, by the way. Go look them up on my predictions video. 100%. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Then we get the Chamber match, which I thought was a really good match. One little complaint here. The Wrestling Jesus brought this up in his review. The pods looked like they were made of plastic, which is, but whatever. It's like Brian got Irish whipped through the fucking pods. It's like you go back to 2002 and you get Goldberg spearing. You gotta actually do a large, a move that contains a lot of impact to put somebody through those. But yeah, the pod. There's like a lot of pods breaking, I thought, all over the place, and it's like with low impact moves, and it's like you need more higher impact moves for the pods to realistically break. So I thought the match was good, though, a very good match, I thought. But then the Wyatts come in, interfere, attack Cena, which gets him eliminated. Then they attack, or then Kane comes in, tries to get the Wyatts out. Bryan attacks Kane, and then that provokes Kane to interfere some more, and it ends up, getting Orton the win. I was very pissed off. It's like, can we get a fucking main event that's not containing interference? I believe we only had one main event that hasn't contained interference since SummerSlam, for the title. Not the main event, but the match for the title. I think the title match has been every main event, though. So, but there's only been one pay-per-view WWE title match, or World Heavyweight title, whatever the fuck it's been called now, that hasn't contained interference. That was the Royal Rumble, or the TLC match. So, yeah, but it's like, just give the belt to Bryan. Get it off Orton. He's boring. He fucking sucks, and the crowd was very, not happy, alright? Like they've been since SummerSlam with Orton being the champion. But I thought this show was pretty decent. Not happy with the results. But some good wrestling here. WrestleMania is going to fucking suck, by the way. It's setting up to be a pretty shitty show. But Thought this show was decent. Did not like some of the results, but thought the wrestling was pretty good. So there you go, people.